Mary?
Okay, I think it's working now. All right.
Oh, good. Okay, very good.
Sorry
All
about
right.
the wait. Technical difficulties always happen in every. So,
Yes.
welcome to Social Security 101 with Lizna and Trang from the Social Security Administration, and now she will get started with the program. Thank you for waiting and your patience.
Thank you. All right. So, like I said, we are open to the public. So I did want to remind everybody again that's new to the call. We have not closed. We stayed open with the phone lines. You can contact us, our local offices. You can make appointments. We'll do everything with you over the phone and by mail, only because of the social distancing rules. We do not know when we're going to open. There is no date yet. We are not working with the different phases. Because as you are aware, we do help the most vulnerable population, which is the elderly and the disabled. So that is why we do not have an actual date yet on when we will actually open the doors for face-to-face. But right now, do not wait on anything. Do not delay what you need to do. Give us a call, contact your local office, or you can call 1-800-772-1213. That is our national line, and that's 1-800-772-1213. Or you can call your local office, or you can create an account and do lots of good things online as well, which I'll be going over. So as you guys are aware, Social Security is with you from the time you're born. You get a Social Security number up until even after you pass away, because you can get benefits as a survivor if you have a family member who's passed away. So Social Security is with you through life's journey. Now, the next slide. Okay, and then the slide after that. And we're going to go over to the next slide after that, which is the most popular baby names. So as you guys know, Social Security, we get everybody's names as soon as they're born because everybody's assigned a Social Security number. So we do have a cute little fun product of the most popular baby names, and we actually have a collection from the last 100 years. So if you want to know if your name was a popular baby name in the past 100 years, we have 5 boy names and 5 girl names that we collect from the year before. And then you can check to see if your name was a popular baby name, or if you want to name your child an unpopular name, you know what not to name them. So that's a little fun byproduct we do send out to people. And if you want to know, there is a link to that as well. Now, after this presentation, the reason we're having some technical difficulties is because we're also trying to record it. So on Slover Library's page, this will be available. So if you're not able to take notes right now, all of this information will be recorded and available. That was one of the reasons we're having the technical difficulties. Now, the slide after this is we're with you when you're working, right? So as soon as you work, you got to give them your Social Security number so that you can have Fica Taxes come out, right, which is your Social Security tax. So the slide after that talks about FICA. So FICA stands for Federal Insurance Contributions Act. And this was passed about 85 years ago. So this August, Social Security has officially been around for 85 years. It was passed during Franklin D. Roosevelt's presidency during the New Deal. And again, it's the most dynamic program because it started as just a retirement check. And as you guys are aware, it's gone to disability, Medicare, family benefits. So, you know, it's changed over time as needs have changed over time as well. And we're going to be going over the spousal, the survivors, and the Medicare as well. When it comes to Social Security, if you guys remember, even in your 20s and 30s, you used to get these green and white statements in the mail. And those statements used to tell you every year how much you've worked and put into Social Security. It used to come around your birthday, and it used to tell you about how much you worked and paid in. So anytime there was an update, you got a nice little green and white statement. Well, again, we stopped mailing those out due to identity theft. So if you create a My Social Security account, which is on our website, www.ssa.gov. Again, that's www.ssa.gov. And if you do /my account, or if you just go to our homepage, you'll be able to see the link. If you create your account, you'll be able to see those statements again. And those statements were great because if there's a discrepancy, you want to be proactive and not reactive, and you want to make sure that you do contact the local office even now and mail in the W-2s for the incorrect years, right? So you can definitely go ahead and still transact business, but it is important that you do check your accounts for at least that statement, because let's say you're going to retire 10 years from now or 5 years from now. You're probably not going to remember what you made in 2020, right? Because you don't get those statements anymore. So the good thing about having an online account is you'll get an alert letting you know how much you actually put in or if there's a change, right? So you'll get the change and you'll be able to go ahead and check that out as well. Another thing about having an online account, especially right now, is that if you lose your Social Security card, you can get your card replaced. You don't have to wait until the offices reopen to show your ID since we're suspended for in-person contact. You don't have to mail your ID. So if you're just looking for a replacement Social Security card, you're a U.S. citizen over the age of 18, you can go ahead and create your account and you can get your Social Security card. Again, if you want to apply for benefits, you can do that too. So when you used to get your green and white statement, it showed you what you worked and what you paid into it and how much you could get, right? So how do we calculate that? So FICA, every paycheck you receive every month, every week, every 2 weeks, whenever you get your check, every time you get your check, you'll see that there's an OASDI, a Social Security, or a FICA label or section on your check. And it'll show that 7.65% is being deducted from your check. Your employer matches it for another 7.65. So in essence, you're getting more than 15% when you get your money back. All right. So you're paying 7.65. The employer matches it for another 7.65, and that's where you get your a little bit over 15%. Now, out of that 7.65%, 6.2% is for Social Security, and then the 1.45% that's left over, that's for Medicare, and that's going to be for Medicare Part A. Because if you were to buy Medicare out of pocket, you're looking at close to $500, if not more. So you want to make sure that you know that if you worked at least 10 years and you paid into Fica Taxes for those 10 years, you pretty much covered your Part A for when you turn 65. And Medicare Part A covers 80% of your hospital bills. So if you go into the hospital for more than 3 days, you have that coverage after 65. Now again, the FICA tax helps both Social Security and Medicare programs like retirement, disability, wounded warriors, and also for children. The slide after that talks about, well, this was, of course, before COVID. So about 178 million workers are going to work and pay into Social Security. That's based on the numbers we saw last year, right? So again, once jobs start opening back up, hopefully you'll see more people working and paying into FICA. But the point of the slide is that it touches majority of Americans. Most Americans are on Social Security when they file for their retirement. They're going to be looking at Social Security. No matter what your background is, no matter what you did for a living, mostly you paid into FICA, the Social Security, you're going to get it back. If you notice, 94% of all workers are covered under Social Security. So who isn't? Well, if you're a state employee, for the city of Norfolk or the Virginia or under VRS, Virginia Retirement System, you've worked and you've paid into FICA and you've worked and paid into VRS. So we're pretty much, state employees in Virginia are the lucky ones. But if you were a state employee in New York, California, Ohio, you did not work and pay into FICA. You only paid into your state's retirement system. They don't pay into FICA. So you're not going to get both of the checks like a Virginian will. So that would be one of the 6% groups. And if you are a federal employee, let's say before in the early 80s, you did not work and pay into Social Security. You paid into Civil Service Retirement System. Again, they did not pay into FICA. So there's only a small percentage that wouldn't be looking at Social Security, but if you worked and paid into Social Security, or FICA, OASDI, you're going to try to claim it in the future. So again, those statements or the account is not for anybody that's just approaching Social Security age. It's for everybody because you want to be proactive, right? Now, the slide after this is about the beneficiaries. So pretty much, if you notice, you're looking at close to 61 million people that are on Social Security, right? They're beneficiaries of Social Security in the United States. And as you can imagine, this number grows every day. As people are losing their jobs, they're probably working with a disability. They probably were working with a disability. So that's so they probably are looking into retirement or disability even now, and we're taking claims for that, right? Either on the phone or online. Also, if you were thinking about retiring later, but you lost your job, you might want to look into you have people looking into retirement a little bit early. So again, you've worked and paid into it. We call it insurance. We don't call it because it's FICA, right? Federal Insurance Contributions Act. The more you put in, the more you get. So obviously, if people are working and maybe they're thinking, well, I might want to need it right now, this is the perfect opportunity to take your insurance, right? Because you did work, you did pay into it. If you fall within that age for retirement or maybe a disability, you might be able to take it. And we have, again, we're taking claims every day all over the United States. So this number is growing every day. Also, SSI, Supplemental Security Income, is different than Social Security. So Social Security, like I said, is more of an insurance. SSI is a program that's based on need. So it's funded not by Social Security. It's funded by pretty much the state to help fund it. But Supplemental Security Income is based on need, and it's pretty much what we're doing is we're trying to do a financial screening. So we're trying to see if you qualify or not, if you're disabled and low income, or if you have a disabled child and the parents are low income, and also if you're an adult, you're 65 years old, and you're also low income. You don't have to be disabled if you're 65 to get on SSI. You just have to be low income. So again, Supplemental Security Income is based on need. With SSI comes Medicaid, which is the based on need insurance through the state, right? And with Social Security comes Medicare because you've worked and paid into it. Two different programs, two different qualifications, right? So let's say right now somebody they lost their job, they want to file for disability, and they want to take their unemployment. They can do that with Social Security. They cannot do that with Supplemental Security Income, SSI, because that's based on need, whereas Social Security is just wanting to see if you're working, how much are you making, right? So it's two different programs. Now, there's also about 2.7 million people in the United States that receive both. Maybe their Social Security is not very high, so they're getting the SSI program to help supplement it. They're getting Supplemental Security Income to get a little bit more. And remember, with that comes the Medicaid. So that's helpful because that's free insurance, right? So the slide after that, I'm going to go ahead and skip to slide 11. So next slide, the slide after that. Yeah. So this one is just letting you know that we want you to try to plan. Social Security was never meant to be the only pension for you. We want you to plan. We want you to go online. We have planners when it comes to retirement, spouses, disability on our website, socialsecurity.gov. But of course, there's other websites as well, like mymoney.gov, that can also help you, plan for your future. So the next slide talks about how many people and how much money we pay out, right? So as of December of 2019, 3.1 million were about $2.4 billion in Social Security benefits each month. So that is a lot of money that's going out into the economy every month. And remember, when you're filing for retirement benefits, there's spouses that file. They might have minor children. They might have a dependent, disabled adult child. So you're looking at dependents. At the same time, 1.5 million dependents of disabled workers were receiving about $602 million in Social Security benefits. So again, this is specific to disabled workers. But if a person is disabled and they're young, they might have young children. They might have a spouse. So again, you're looking at $602 million every month going back into the economy. So this is pretty much introducing you to our planners. So if you go to socialsecurity.gov/planners, that's definitely want you not only for you to see how much you could get, but also how much your family could get. And if you remember seeing those green and white statements, there was a section that talked about if you file for retirement at 62, full retirement age, or 70, this is what you're going to get. If your spouse files, this is what they're going to get. If you have children, this is what they're going to get. That's family benefits. So whatever you make also affects your family too. So it is important for you to check that out and know not only what you can get, but also what your family could get. And then God forbid something was to happen, you pass away, we also have that survivor benefit information on there. Now, the next slide talks a little bit more about the beneficiaries. So as of December 2019, 45.1 million retired workers are receiving close to $70 billion in Social Security benefits per month. And at the same time, 3.1 million dependents of retired workers are receiving $2.4 billion. So not only are we talking about themselves, but we're also talking
Elaine Davis has joined the meeting.
So this is a lot of money going in and out of your, a lot of money that is going back out to the economy. Now remember, during COVID-19, these checks are not stopping. We're still working, we're still paying them out. So, you don't have to worry about your Social Security check. Now, no one will be calling you and telling you from Social Security that if you pay us something, you will get a higher stimulus check. That is a lie. Nobody from Social Security will be calling you about a stimulus check because we're not handling the stimulus checks. They're coming from the IRS. And really, they're coming from Treasury. So remember, if you're getting Social Security, SSI, and you paid a tax return, you're good. Even if you haven't paid a tax return, Treasury has your information because your Social Security checks are coming from Treasury. So you don't have to worry about contacting the IRS for that. But I know IRS did have something for non-filers and dependents because not everybody is filed and not everybody gets benefits. So again, if you have any questions about the stimulus check, you do need to go to the IRS website at irs.gov. We will not be calling you because I know there's a lot of scams out there. We're not going to be calling you about the stimulus check because that's not something we do. We're just handling Social Security, and we are not going to be calling you asking you for money so that you can get a higher stimulus check. Again, that is not something we would do. You can report all of these scams to oig.ssa.gov. Again, Social Security, the Office of Inspector General are partnered up. So we do encourage you to report these scams to oig.ssa.gov. Okay? We're not going to suspend your benefits. We're not going to suspend your Social Security numbers. We might call you to do business because right now that's the only way we're able to do business. We might send you a letter and we might call you if you contact us. But if you're not contacting us, we're not calling you. So if you get a weird call like that that's out of the blue, do not give out your information. Also, while I'm on this topic, Medicare. You have a lot of people calling saying that they're going to be giving out a test kit to you or some free protective gear, and they want your Medicare number in exchange or your insurance information in exchange. Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So do not give out your insurance information because then you're going to have to track your insurance statements to see if there's a fraudulent charge on there, right? So you want to make sure that you do not give out your information. Again, you can also report all of these scams related to Medicare and Social Security to oig.ssa.gov. And I do want to let you know that because scams are going rampant because scammers follow headlines, and right now COVID-19 is on the news. So definitely wanted to address that. Now, back to the serious stuff. Social Security, how is it calculated? What we're looking at is the highest 35 years of the last 40 years of work. So yeah, if you work 10 years, you're pretty much good. You worked, you paid into Social Security, you're good. So you just need 40 quarters, and 40 quarters you'll get in 10 years. Every season that you've worked, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Every season or every quarter, you get a credit, right? So you need 40 credits, right? So as long as you've made $1,410 that one of those seasons, one of those quarters, you pretty much earned yourself a credit, right? So in the entire year of 2020, it's as long as you've made more than $5,640, you pretty much have earned your 4 credits. So it's not hard because this year this is the limit, which is $1,410 a quarter. But every year this changes, right? Last year it was a little bit less. Next year it's going to be a little bit more because of cost of living, right? It's not going to go that much more. Last year was about $1,300. This year you're looking at about $1,400. So every 3 months, if you work and make at least $1,410, you've earned a credit. Now, most people listening, you probably have worked your 10 years. You probably have your 40 quarters, right? Your 40 credits. But the calculation that we do is different. Not everybody in here has the same amount of, not everybody's going to have the same amount of checks, right? It's going to be a little, right? So the slide after this talks about how we calculate it. So what we do is we take the highest 35 years and we go ahead and we figure out what your average is based on that. Remember, what you've worked and paid into Social Security, your employer also matches, right? So you get that amount. Plus, it is indexed for cost of living, for inflation, right? Because what you've made in 1980 is going to be a lot less in dollars, probably, what you made in 2020, right? And it's calculated at a less amount because of inflation. What Social Security does is we actually compare it to what it's worth in today's dollars, and you get that type of livable pension. So we do adjust it for inflation, so we don't count what it was actually worth in 1980. We're actually going to look at that figure and see what that dollar amount is worth in 2020. So you can have a livable pension because we understand that Social Security accounts for people's, at least 40% of people's retirement income, right? So we do inflate it, or we call it index. So it does result in a monthly index, but then again, that's why everybody's rate is different, because it is based on what you worked and what you paid into. So that's how we calculate that. Now, the following slide, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you skip over to the next slide, and then we're going to come back to this slide. Thank you. So this slide talks about I've worked in a lot of different offices. I've worked in Georgia. I've worked in Atlanta, at the Atlanta, Georgia office. I've worked in Houston, I've worked in Dallas, so I've worked all around the United States, a lot of different offices, and I've worked all around Richmond. And the most popular question I get anywhere I go is, when should I take my check, right? Because as you notice, you have the span from 62 to 70, right? And it can be confusing. Some people, they have a financial planner that helps them, their family members help them, because you want to know, the best time for you to take it, right? What works for you. So, as you know, you can take it as early as 62, or you can wait until you're 70. If you take it at 62, you're going to be locked in at a reduction, right? So it depends on your situation. Everybody's situation is different. In this example, in this bar graph, 66 is this person's full retirement age. And at 66, they're going to get $1,000, right? If they take it as early as 62, they're looking at a 25% reduction. So they're going to, instead of getting $1,000, they would get $750, right? Now, you're looking at $250 less, right? But you would get $750 for 48 months, right? If you wanted it at that time, if it made sense for you at that time. So you got to think about break even, right? It's $250 less, but you're going to get $750 for 48 months, because there's 12 months to a year, and you're looking at 4 months before, right? So 48, 12 times 4 is 48. So is it worth it for you to give up $750 for 48 months so you can get an extra $250? Now, it might be the situation, because if you're working full time, there's no point in you taking it. There is a limit to how much you can make if you take it before your full retirement age. And full retirement age is either 66, maybe 66 in 2 months, 66 in 10 months, going all the way up to 67, right? If you were born after 1960 or after, then your full retirement age is 67 years old, right? So that means that you would get that $1,000. The 66 figure here is $1,000 representing full retirement age, right? Now, for every year you wait after full retirement age, you get an 8% increase. So there's no point in waiting after 70 because you would get a 32% increase, right? So instead of getting $1,000, you would get $1,320. It does not grow after 70. So there's no point in waiting after 70. 70 is the highest it will get. There's no benefit on waiting after. But you can make as much as you like. So let's say you take it at 66, your full retirement age, you can go ahead and take that amount and you can make as much as you like. There's no limit. Remember, if you're working, you're still paying into FICA. So your benefits will recomp. We will recalculate it to see if you can get a higher amount. Because if you're still working, you're paying into FICA. It's your Social Security that, you're having that 7.65 come out of. So your employer is still matching it. And, we're going to go ahead and see if you can get a higher amount. So most people think, well, if I work again, I won't, that's it, I'm locked in. Not necessarily. You get the cost of living increase, but remember, we're still averaging it. So if the 2020 is going to be one of your higher years, chances are it'll drop one of those lower years for the highest 35 of the last 40. So it could have dropped a lower year and it could replace it so that you can have a higher average. So that recomp still continues, right? Now, if you take it before full retirement age, there is a limit to how much you can make. So yeah, you are locked in at a little bit less, but there is a limit. So I'm going to have you go back to the slide before, the one I had you skip over. Thank you. And that talks about your limit. So if you're under full retirement age, whatever that is, 66 to 67, there is a limit to how much you can make. That limit is $18,240 for the year. So this year, it changes every year. In 2020, that's the limit. So it's $18,240. If you divide it by 12, you're looking at about $1,500 a month, $1,520 a month. So if you're working part-time, let's say you're only making $15,000, it might be worth it for you to take the retirement check and go ahead and work part-time, right? Because you're under the limit. Because for every $2 you make over the limit, we withhold $1 from your check. So this is how we do that. Let's say you're going to be making $20,000. From $20,000, we're going to subtract $18,240, which is our limit, and then we're going to go ahead and divide that by half. And that will determine how much you actually owe us based on what you've made. So what we do again is we take that $20,000, what you've made, subtract $18,240 from it, and we divide that by half, and that's how we figure out how much your overpayment amount's going to be. I think are we having technical issues?
You go in, or you're going in and out, but other than that, it's not bad.
Oh, good. All right. And then once you hit full retirement age, again, that year, so the year you turn full retirement age, let's say your birthday is in June, and you want to take it in January. You might hear people say, I'm going to take my retirement the first of the month, right, the first of the year. And you're thinking the first of the year, this person's not full retirement age yet, right? Well, the year you turn full retirement age, you can make a higher amount. You get a little bit of a break the year you turn full retirement age. So instead of being locked into $18,240 a year, you could actually make $48,600 a year. So if your birthday's in June, from January through May, you could make close to $50,000. And then after June, you're free to make whatever you want, right? So, and the rate for that is every $3 that you make over, we withhold $1 from your check. So you do get a break the year you turn full retirement age if you decide to take it before. Now, once you hit full retirement age, like I said, there's no limit. You can make whatever you want, and it will continue to recomp for you because it could be a higher year. So every year you might get a nice little email from our website or a letter from us letting you know, hey, we actually owe you money because we recomped it and we had to, exclude a lesser year so you can go ahead and get a higher amount. We will never pay you less. We will always try to pay you more. So that's something that most people don't realize, that we can go ahead and recomp it for you. Now, the slide after that, next slide, the full retirement age. So back in 1980s, they changed the full retirement age. 65 used to be the it age, right? 65, you get your Medicare, you get your Social Security, and you're done, right? Well, we want to keep Social Security solvent. But in addition to that, people are living longer, too. So a man, and these are some statistics, a man reaching age 65 today can expect to live an average of about 84 years. A woman turning 65 today can expect to live an average of about 86 and a half. So again, these are just averages. I'm sure you guys are aware people are living in their 90s all the way up until their early hundreds. So again, remember, if people are, we're paying a check every month. So the longer people live, we're still paying them a check. And again, if you want to know how long you're going to live, like I said, we do have a life expectancy calculator on our website, on one of our calculators. We have about 11 of them. One of them is life expectancy. And financial planners kind of use this to let people know when they should be able to take their check and when they're going to break even. It's a good tool. And so how they figure that out is they look at your parents' age, and if they passed away with a natural death. So if they passed away with a natural death, or they live longer, then they're going to try to determine that you're also going to be living longer, right, through your genes, right? But nobody knows what's actually going to happen. There's no magic ball. But if you want to kind of plan ahead to see when you should take it, if you should take it at full retirement age, wait until 70, or take it before then, that is the link to how to get to the life expectancy calculator. It's part of our planner's website, part of that page in the planner site. Now, the slide after this talks about disability. So, and retirement again. So I think this is a duplicate slide, but I'm going to go over to the next slide. When we talk about disability, so the next slide, we also talked about children, right? When we talk about retirement and when we talk about disability and family benefits. The next component after this is going to be spouses benefits, like family benefits, but I'm just going to go ahead and highlight children real quick. If you file for retirement and disability and you have a child, then of course a child or a family member can get benefits off of your record. So a child must have a parent who's disabled or retired to be entitled to Social Security benefits, or a parent who's passed away, okay? And this is very real. I had a friend who was in her early 30s. She was a nurse, and she was going into work. She was going into the hospital at night, and a tractor trailer went ahead and hit her on the spot. She passed away. She has a young family. She had a husband and a young son. And of course, he was also in his 30s. He wasn't thinking about Social Security or going through those, the green and white statement or trying to get an online account, right? But pretty much had to walk him through the process that, the son can get benefits off of his mother's record, right? So it is important to look into that. Also, and you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. You might become disabled. You have a family you're taking care of. You should know what else is out there for you. And the child must also be unmarried, of course. If they're under 18, they should be unmarried. But they can be up until high school. So the benefits will actually continue until they graduate high school or until they're 19 if they're still in high school. It does not go past 19 unless they're disabled. So if you have a disabled child that's 18 and disabled, then they can continue to get benefits off of their parents' record as a disabled adult child. So that's also a possibility too. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop for questions, and then I'm going to let my counterpart, Trang, she's going to be the one that's going to take over after this. But I'll still be on the line. All right, so I can open it up for questions now.
So if you have questions, please put them in the chat box, and then I'll relate them. I do have one from Luis Vega that says, I'm assuming there's also direct deposit of any payments instead of monthly checks being mailed.
Of course, yes. We definitely recommend you to sign up for direct deposit. If you don't have a bank account, we actually have a check card that we can actually get assigned to you through Direct Express. It has a MasterCard logo on it, so you could use it wherever MasterCard is used. The bank is Co-America Bank. So we do have a contract with them. So if somebody does not have a bank account, they can go ahead and say, I don't have a bank account. We can get you set up with Direct Express. We do recommend that, again, because things get lost in the mail and you want to make sure that you get your check. So yes, direct deposit is highly recommended. Absolutely.
Okay. We have another question that says, can your Social Security benefit go down? Say I retire at age 60 and stop working and then start taking Social Security at 67. So there's 7 years of zero income. Those 7 years would be within the last 35 years.
Right.
So would the benefit go down from there where it was at retirement age at 60 based on the 7 of the most recent years of zero income?
Right. So we will not have it go down once you take it. Remember, your average is going to fluctuate because if we're looking at the highest 35 years out of 40, and now part of your 35 years, you have some zeros, right? Again, we still take into consideration most people, work and they work close to 40, maybe even more than that. So again, we look at the highest 35. Now, if you have zeros on your record, of course, that's going to count, but we're not going to pay you until you actually take it, right? So that's why you want to monitor your statement, because remember, the statement says it is not the exact amount. It is an estimate. And remember, it is assuming that you're going to be making the same amount the following year. So if you actually go to our website and you play with the planner or the estimator, once you log in, you can actually, there's a tab on the My Social Security account, and you can click on estimator. And if you click on that, it's going to ask you, when do you plan on retiring? So you put the month and year. And then if you're going to have zeros, you can go ahead and put in the zeros. So remember, the statement is not an actual check, right? It's not an actual amount. It's letting you know this is what you worked and what you paid into. And if there's a discrepancy, definitely contact the local office and get us the right amounts, right? If there's a problem. But if you're going to have zeros, we haven't paid you yet. So once we pay you, it should not go down unless you're overpaid, meaning you've worked and now you have to pay something back due to an overpayment, right? But once we pay you, your average should not go down. You're locked in. Or if anything, if you get a cost of living increase every year, pretty much every January around that time, Congress will go ahead and vote on a cost of living. This year it was a 1.7% increase, 1.6% increase. So every year you do get a little bit of an increase, but remember, you're locked into that rate. So if we're never going to pay you less, we could pay you more if you're entitled on another person's record. But yes, those zeros will count if it's part of the highest 35 years. If it's part of those 35 years and you don't have any other options there, they have to count. But remember, we're not paying you at that time, so your check isn't going to go low because we haven't paid you yet. Your average could go low, absolutely, because based on what you worked. And again, we want you to be proactive and we want you to play with those planners online. And again, that's on socialsecurity.gov/planners. And you can go ahead and start planning on it. Or if you create your account, you'll be able to see that. Because everything's housed on your account anyway, so you'll be able to see your figures and we'll be able to use that.
Okay, next question is, if you have a son who is 21 and disabled, can the son get Social Security from both parents?
If the parents have drawn benefits. So remember, the requirement is if the parent is drawing benefits, absolutely. So let's say your son is on SSI. Maybe they haven't worked that much, right? And they're on supplemental security income. They got approved at 18. We didn't look at parents' income after 18, right? So let's say they met the low income with the financial screening. They met the disability, and now they're on SSI. Then once the parent files for their benefit, disability, or even retirement at 62, and they have a disabled adult child who's now, let's say, 40. By the time you file for your retirement, your child would be maybe 40 years old or so, right, depending on their age. You can go ahead and tell us, hey, I don't have a minor child, but I do have a disabled adult child. I do have a dependent child, right? Because most people, when they think about a dependent child, they're only thinking about minor children, right? But if you have a child that's disabled, there's still a dependent child on you. So absolutely, if your child was declared disabled before the age of 22, even through the Supplemental Security Income Program, and you file for your benefits, retirement, or disability, you can actually get benefits. They can get benefits off of their parents' record. Absolutely.
Okay. Next one is for younger folks, such as Gen X. There has been talk that there will only be enough Social Security to pay out 75% of promised benefits. Is that potential reduction reflected on those green and white statements, or should folks take the number on those statements and estimate about 75% for what they should expect to receive for planning purposes?
No, right now what the talk is that if nothing was to change, right, full retirement age continues to change, right? So we are working on solvency issues. So full retirement age is continuing to grow, right? So obviously that's been beneficial to keep Social Security going. The other thing about it is we've had a few different changes in 2016. We had the file and suspend change. So there's been a couple of changes that not everybody really knows about because it doesn't affect everybody. There's been no changes with disability. So disability and SSI, there's no problems with that. There's no changes with that. But if there was nothing to change before I think it's 2037, if there's no changes, then everybody would get about 78 cents on each dollar. But there are changes that have been made. In 2016, there were a bunch of reforms that were done, like file and suspend. What that was for family benefits. So let's say you have a spouse, he's full retirement age or she's full retirement age. They file for benefits, and at the same time, they would suspend it. And why would somebody do that? Why would you file and why would you suspend, right? Well, if you're married to somebody, your spouse has to be on benefits for you to get it. So that's why they're filing, because they want to make sure that they get on benefits, but they don't want to terminate it or withdraw it. They're suspending it so another spouse or another child can get benefits off of their record. In 2016, that ceased. That loophole closed. So if you're not getting benefits, nobody's getting benefits. So that's just one of many reforms that were done in 2016. So there has been changes, again, before 2037, so that we can keep Social Security solvent. So I wouldn't worry about that right now.
Okay. Next question is the Social Security benefit federal tax-free? That is, do you actually receive the benefit as stated on the SS portal, or is that before taxes?
So yes, that we do not take out taxes for you. You do receive a 1099. So you will get a 1099 if you are on benefits with Social Security. Now SSI, Supplemental Security Income, is needs-based, and that is tax-free. With Social Security, you're only paying federal taxes. You're not paying state taxes. But yes, what you see on your statement is what you are going to receive. What you see as your estimate or whatever it is. You will get that. We don't take out federal taxes for you unless you request voluntary tax withholding. And there is an IRS form for that. You can find it on our website under forms, socialsecurity.gov. If you scroll to the bottom, you'll see a section that says forms. If you click on that, you can just type in IRS under that search, and you'll be able to find this voluntary tax withholding form. And then we have a few choices there you can take out. You can take out 7, 10, 12, or 22%. So it's up to you. You can start it at any time. You could stop it at any time. You could change it at any time. Some people don't even have to pay taxes depending on their adjusted gross income, right, with the IRS. So again, it's a situation that's different for everybody, so we wouldn't take out the taxes for you. That's something that you would have to pay. Now, when you're working, you're paying FICA taxes, but you're not paying FICA taxes when it comes to your Social Security. You're paying income taxes when you're paying Social Security. So it's two different types of taxes. But yes, if you're within that bracket where you have to pay taxes, you get a 1099 and you can pay it at the end of the year, or you have the option to take a deduction out every check, so you're not paying so much at the end of the year. Just depends on your situation.
Okay, I have a couple more. How does receiving Social Security work? Can both collect full amount at the same time? So I'm guessing it's a couple. That can both people collect the full amount of Social Security at the same time? And then how does military retirement and government retirement impact receiving Social Security?
So yes, both couples can receive their benefit. If you've worked and paid into Social Security and you wait until full retirement age, you'll get yours, and they'll get theirs. So
Sorry,
it's going to impact each other.
You paused out there for a second. What was that?
Okay. So like I said, yes, both people in the same couple, of course, they've worked and put into Social Security, so they'll be able to go ahead and get their own, right? You've worked and put into Social Security, you've worked all your life, so we pay you your higher 35 of the 40, and the same thing for your spouse. So that does not change. If you've been married, if you're single, you've worked and put into Social Security, that's your statement. It's based on your Social Security number and what you've worked and what you've paid into. Now, again, we do have the Spousal Benefit, and that part is coming up. But yes, you both can get your full amount if you wait until full retirement age, or let's say you take it a little bit earlier than full retirement age, that's fine too. Again, you worked and put into it, so you're entitled to it. That's what you worked and paid into. You insured yourself for it. Military benefits is a little different. So Social Security will not, your military benefit will not affect Social Security. What you worked and what you paid with your VA pension, whatever you get with your VA pension is separate than your Social Security. So again, Social Security is just looking at Fica taxes, right? As long as you worked and put into Fica, you're good. So if you get a VA pension, if you get another pension through your job, 401k, resources, rental income, unemployment, none of that's going to affect Social Security. It might affect them, I don't know. VRS, again, that will not affect Social Security. You're going to be due what you worked and what you paid into with us, statement, what you get with the VA, unemployment, whatever other pension you're due from your company, that's something else that, you get at a different, it's a different entity. So again, that's different than Social Security. It will not affect that check either. Now, if you did work and pay into another system where you did not pay into Social Security, then you wouldn't get anything from us, right? But let's say you worked and paid into both. Let's say you worked and paid into a system where you did pay into Social Security, and then you also worked with another job, and you did not pay into Social Security, right? So that's double dipping. So let's say you worked for another state where they didn't take Social Security, or let's say you worked for the federal government and you were a civil service retirement under the civil service retirement system and you didn't pay into Social Security, but you also had another job where you did, right? Then there is an offset, okay? And you're looking at the windfall elimination provision, that's WEP or GPO, government pension offset. And we also have calculators online so that you can calculate based on whatever your pension is through your other job and then whatever you've worked and paid into Social Security. There is a calculation, a 2/3 offset. So yes, that will affect Social Security. But VA will not, unemployment will not, your spouse getting it will not. There's a lot of it that will not affect it. But yeah, if you did work and pay into both a pension where you didn't pay into Social Security and you did, then there is an offset based on that. So yeah.
Okay. I'm 68-year-old female receiving survivor's benefits and working full time. How my benefit change at age 70? Will I receive my benefit based on my income or based on my survivor benefit?
So if this person is receiving benefit from another person as a widow, as a survivor, then it's they've worked and put into Social Security under their own number, and they haven't taken their own Social Security, then you can switch over at 70 if your amount's going to be higher under your own. So if it's going to be lower, then absolutely not. You only get the higher of the two anyway, right? But if it's higher and you haven't taken anything from your own Social Security because you've been working or you've been waiting, because you get that 8% increase by just waiting, right, after full retirement age, then it just depends on if your amount's going to be more than what you're already receiving. And then you get the higher of the two. So that's how that works.
All right. If something happened to the primary parent of a disabled child, even if the parents are divorced, does that child get the Social Security of the divorced party or slash living parent?
If they're their parent, even if they're divorced, it just depends on which parent they can get a higher benefit from. If parental rights have not been terminated, meaning if that child has not been adopted by anybody else, and both parents are still on his birth certificate, his or her birth certificate, they're still considered the person's parent, then we would look into both records to see who can get a higher, if they can get a higher benefit as a survivor, somebody passed away, or as with a living parent. It just depends on the two records. But doesn't matter if the couple divorced or not, that still didn't affect the child and if they're their parent or not, right? That's two different things. Unless the child has been adopted by somebody else and those parental rights have been terminated. That's a different story.
Okay. If a sibling is disabled and currently gets benefits from the parent, what if that parent passes away? Does the living sibling take any of that responsibility?
Okay, I don't understand. So you have a person who is receiving benefits, and and then they have a sibling?
Right. It says if the sibling is disabled and currently getting benefits from the parent, and then the parent passed away, does the living sibling take any of the responsibility? I'm not sure exactly either.
Yeah, so that's up to who you trust, right? So let's say something was to happen and you're the payee, meaning you're handling the money for your child, right? And the child's getting benefits off of a living parent. A parent passes away, whoever you have entrusted that child to would become the representative payee for that child. So just like you were handling money for that child, whoever you trust will then become the next person, the next in line to be the payee, right? It could be a group home. Let's say the child is in a group home. Then the group home might step in and become the payee, right? So it depends on the situation to who is going to be taking over for that child. Now, if that parent passes away, that child could get survivor benefits, of course, off of that parent's record. If they're already getting benefits from a parent's record and that parent passes away, then they could possibly get more money as a survivor, right? It will convert over. But, of course, the benefits will end at that time because we need to find somebody new, because if that parent passed away, we need a new representative payee. Now, if the sibling does step up and want to be the payee for that child, then that's fine, but they're not required to. It just depends on who is taking care of that child. It could be another family member. It could be a group home. It could be anybody that the family trusts. So, yeah.
Okay, and I think the last one is, it says, where does military retirement fall within the analogy of the military retirement? They don't pay into it. If a person is receiving military retirement pay, is there an offset to what they are entitled to in Social Security benefits?
No. So when you were in the military, you actually worked and put into Social Security. So when you were active duty in the military, you paid into FICA. So that is not going to affect.
Answer the military has been taxed by FICA.
Well, and I will say this. Most people think, again, military is different than Social Security. Again, you worked and paid into FICA, but that's another pension. So again, income taxes, that's a different story. But with Social Security, there's no offset if you are receiving the military. Because again, when you were active duty, you did pay into it, and you get a little bit of an increase. So remember, if you were active duty before 2001, right? For any quarter you are active duty, so any 3 months you are active duty, an extra $300 is actually automatically, because we interface with the IRS, right? That's how we know about your wages. We interface with the VA. That's how we know about your active duty time. So if you were active duty before 2001, for any quarter, any 3 months you were active duty, you actually get a $300 increase average. You get a $300 extra averaged in to your amount. So if you are active duty for an entire year, then you're looking at $1,200 a year, because every 3 months you would get $300, right? So if you're looking at 12 months, you're looking at $1,200. So you would have an extra $1,200 automatically averaged into your amount, okay? So if you're active duty and you were active before 2001, you actually get a little bit more for your service. And if you want to know if we have your information with the DD-214, of course, you can always contact us to make sure that everything is right. But again, when you look at your statement, you'll be able to notice that the comps, the amounts, are going to be a little bit different for you, because that $300 to $1,200 is automatically averaged in if, again, only if you are active duty before 2001. So, and we usually have that already interfaced, so you don't really have to provide your DD-214. But you do get a little bit more for that. And no, there's no offset for that. So thank you for your service. Thank you for that.
Okay, so I think we can move on to the next.
Spousal. All right. So now I'm going to have Trang come in, and she's going to go over spouse benefits and everything else for you. And I'm also going to be around to help answer questions later. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending the seminar tonight. Now, as you know, Social Security benefits pay out a lot of different types of benefits. You already know about the retirement benefits. We pay disability. We pay child benefit. The next is spousal benefit, divorced spouse, widow benefit, and we also have Medicare. So Social Security pay out a lot of benefits, different types of benefits. Now, I'm moving into the spousal benefit. A spouse who has not worked or who has low earnings can be entitled to as much as 1/2 of the retirement workers' pool benefit. Now, if you are eligible for both your own retirement benefit and for your